daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Liverpool podcast. Today in our normal Tuesday slot is just me. It's Michael, and today we're going to be talking about a bit of the international break, talking about where some of the Liverpool players are, how they performed, stuff like that, and we might touch on some of the upcoming fixtures, look ahead to them, see if we're gonna do very well in them, and I'll give my opinion on them. Then we'll have a little break. And when we come back, we'll try something new. I've got a little 10-question quiz that I'm going to go through, and I'll read all the answers out at the end. Something different. Maybe we'll see if it's any good. But yeah, it's all Liverpool related. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying something new out. I'd love to hear feedback. So today, I mean, everyone hates that there's no international football, don't they? We don't get to see Liverpool play. They are coming back this weekend, though, so we can all look forward to the Burnley game. Burnley away at Turf Moor. It's going to be a good game. I think some of the players that are coming back some of the new signings, in particular Isak, might get a run out, but they might also not. I've been looking into how does a player react when they've been training alone and they come back into sort of a first team setup, and like how does that affect the player? And basically, what I've sort of found out is that a lot of people compare coming back from training alone to training with a team as basically like a player who's come back from a long-term injury, because as much as you can train and stay physically fit, you're still not training to the highest intensity, you're still not match fit, you're still not match aware. So that's where like training with a team comes in. So I think a player like Isak, he really hasn't played for Sweden, and you'd think a player of his stature would be a talisman, but I think they also understand, as we should, that Isak is one of those players that he needs time to get back up to full strength. So all this talk about Isak and Ekitike playing up top together all the time and like seeing if that would work, I don't think we're going to see that until probably like the Galatasaray game. I want to say maybe we might try it out there. Just looking at the games that we've got coming up. Maybe the Southampton game, just to get him a bit of game time. But Isak, this international break, has played all of 18 minutes. He was an unused sub in Sweden's first game. He came on in the last few minutes for Sweden's second game. So at least he's getting some minutes, but it's really nowhere near what he needs to be getting to be starting. I think Ekitike, being the player who's started well, being the player who's in form, who's scored in his last few games, and he kind of is leading the line at the moment, I think he will get a run out for much, much longer, and I think he deserves it. I think Isak is going to have to fight for that place and fight to get back into this team. Although he is the marquee signing, I mean, English record fee and all that, and he is a fantastic player. He's the number 9. I think Ekitike at this moment in time is giving him a run for his money and is able to kind of hold down that position. I really don't see Gakpo getting displaced for when Isak comes in. But it is interesting that like who's played well this international break. I mean, the main headline is Florian Wurtz. He scored a fantastic free kick against Northern Ireland. It was Szoboszlai-esque, I would hazard to say. I think it's kind of it's good to see that we've got another free kick taker if we need it, but I think Bioniq should get the nod from now on, just after that one against Arsenal. But this Wurtz free kick was so good, and overall he played really well against Northern Ireland. He got an 8.4 rating. He was kind of instrumental in the center of the pitch. He is their sort of talisman. I mean, there was a very good picture of him kind of getting mobbed by his teammates, and it looked almost Messi-esque when like the Argentinian players are celebrating around him, to kind of like they look to him to lead and to do something magical. And it's really good to see that for a player who's still so young. Like, he's still 22, 23, I'm pretty sure. So, like, he's still got such a future ahead of him, but he's already for one of the biggest countries in the world, in football in the world. He is their talisman, which is which is great to see. And like, hopefully once he's settled in a bit more with our team and settled in with the style of play of the Premier League and the space and the time and stuff, which we kind of saw glimpses of in the Arsenal game, I think he will definitely sort of kick on and become that talisman for us. And I think, as I've said in previous podcasts, the fact that we've signed Ekatike and Wurtz, who are both sort of in that early 20s bracket, not even really in their primes yet, I think is really promising. That when the likes of Salah, when these other attackers aren't really performing in the future, when they've kind of maybe got a little bit too old, I think we'll be able to look forward to having those players sort of coming through and kind of picking up the slack. And Wurtz is a potentially 15 goals, 15 assists player when he wants to be, and I think that is something that's invaluable, especially if we've got the likes of Isak and Ekatike up front. I think it could be even more. I mean, there was a reason why City were clamouring for him to be the next De Bruyne, to be the De Bruyne replacement, and then all of a sudden, as soon as he comes to Liverpool, he's no good and he's rubbish and he's washed. But I mean, delusional fans are something that we have to deal with as Liverpool fans. As soon as a player is good somewhere else and comes to Liverpool, he's suddenly not as good, or the price tag's too big, or any multitude of reasons that they find to discount our players. But we always prove time and time again that we are smarter than most other clubs, and we do well to kind of get to a position that we can make those moves and get those players in to be deal makers for us, to be the talisman that we need. And it's really good to see Wurtz playing well for Germany, and hopefully he can bring that form back against Burnley and against Atletico Madrid. We've got quite a defensive few games, so I think this could be a chance for him to kind of find those pockets of spaces and just kind of work his magic, which would be really good. Moving on, in the Hungary games, Szoboszlai and Kerkez both played well against Ireland. Szoboszlai got an assist. He was playing a slightly deeper role. But Kerkez also played well. He was solid, kind of carrying that form on from Arsenal. They're both doing very well, both very talismanic for Hungary. Again, hopefully they can bring that through. Speaking of Szoboszlai, he was playing in midfield for Hungary, and Conor Bradley got some good minutes under his belt for Northern Ireland, so it's definitely going to be more of a head scratcher for Slot maybe than he thought with once Bradley comes back, because Szoboszlai has played so well at that right back position, but Conor Bradley is just the out and out right back, and Szoboszlai can be played in a different position. But in my opinion, Szoboszlai needs to be in the team, but then our best midfield three doesn't involve him. So it's a bit of a conundrum, and I think maybe might be what Slot is thinking by playing him out on the right, on a right back, because I think Slot wants him to be in this team no matter what, and with Bradley, with Frimpong, maybe it might be that we try and make that a bit more of a competition on that right, because when I've seen him in the double pivot, he's not as good as he has been at right back. I mean, that's fundamentally what it is, and we need to maybe just kind of re-establish what his sort of best position is. And we'll have to revisit that once him and Bradley are actually fighting, and once maybe Frimpong comes back on the 20th of August or whatever it is. Moving over to the Netherlands, VVD, Gakpo and Gravenberch were all in the squad. Gravenberch was an unused sub in their last game, so I mean it's good to keep him protected. He doesn't need any more minutes in his legs at the moment. We just need to kind of shield him from getting overexerted. VVD had a very, very solid game, as he always does. Gakpo got an assist, which is good to see that he's still kind of carrying that form, still being an influential player on that left-hand side, and he's kind of locking that down. I know a lot of people have been kind of making links saying that maybe Ekatike could be playing out on the left, or Isak could be playing out on the left if needed, but I think both their positions are probably better through the middle or as a two. So I think Gakpo's position is fairly safe. I think Rio Ngamoa is going to be pushing him, but if Gakpo can keep this sort of form on, can keep it going, then I mean it'd be really, really good to see him perform to such a high level. Okay, moving on. So Salah scored against Ethiopia. It looks like Egypt are potentially going to get through to the World Cup, which would be really cool to see. They're top of their World Cup qualifying at the moment, so I mean fingers crossed we get to see Salah at a major tournament before he retires. Um, but yeah, so and then France, Kanate and Ekatike both played. Kanate played really well at centre back. So I think if he can he's played well against Arsenal. He's back. He's fit enough to play a full 90 for France. So I can see him starting the game against Burnley. And if he can keep the form up, I think that's the Kanate we need to be seeing as opposed to the ones that maybe played against Palace or Bournemouth or even Newcastle. I think he was a bit lackluster in those first few games, but we need to get his form back. Otherwise, the likes of Leone, the likes of Gomez after his little stint when he made an appearance for Arsenal against Arsenal, they're going to be pushing him hard for this place, and I think there's a lot more competition than maybe we thought. Especially once we lost the race for Gahey, I think there is plenty of competition and plenty of depth. And with the news that we're not going to go in for Gahey, it's going to be interesting to see what we do in terms of Kanate's contract, whether we re-up him or whether we're just resigned to losing him and getting Gahey in as his replacement, basically. Ekatike came on in the last few minutes, didn't play in the first game, so I think they're both interesting that they got some game time, but it's not really the end of the world that they didn't. I mean, we need to keep these players kind of fit and firing for us. We don't really care about international football here. Why it was really interesting that we don't have any players in the England squad. I mean, I'm not too fussed. I mean, I've got to admit, because like the less players that get injured on international break, the better. Really, we don't really want to be having to contend with unnecessary injuries or unnecessary kind of burnout. I think the only players who I thought maybe would get into the England squad would be Harvey Elliott, maybe Curtis Jones, but to be fair, I keep forgetting Harvey Elliott's gone. My bad. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see as the sort of year goes on whether Curtis Jones will be able to kind of force his way into that England squad, and I'd like to see Elliott kind of play his way into there because I think he's definitely good enough. And with this move to Aston Villa, I want to see the boy thrive. We've also got in the upcoming fixtures, we've got a fairly decent run in terms of the teams that we're playing. Up until the 4th of October, where we're playing Chelsea, we've got Burnley, Atletico Madrid, Everton, Southampton in the Cup, Crystal Palace, Galatasaray, and then Chelsea, as I said. I mean, this run it's a defence heavy run, especially with Burnley, Atletico Madrid, and Everton. I think Merseyside derby will be really interesting to watch, especially with how Everton are playing at the moment with Jack Grealish on that sort of left wing side. If we play Szoboszlai, if we play Conor Bradley, whether they'll be able to kind of deal with him on that side in the form that he's in. In terms of Burnley, I think watching them, they've had some good spells, but they're defensively fairly sound. But I think our firepower should be good enough. It'll be good to see if Isak can get some minutes under his belt. See the likes of maybe Chiesa get brought on in the dying minutes. And I think the most interesting game that I'm looking forward to is actually the Southampton game, because I feel like it's gonna be a fairly strong team. I think because it's obviously Southampton, but I think we're gonna kind of rotate quite a lot. I reckon Rio Ngamoa is gonna get some minutes. I reckon Chiesa is gonna get a start. I think probably at that point after sort of 3 games, I reckon Isak's gonna be up to the point where he can start a game. So that'll be interesting seeing him from the start. We'll have Szoboszlai will probably play, I reckon. Maybe some of the other kids. So Robertson will probably play. It'll be really interesting to see the sort of rotation we do of Leone and Gomez, Mamadashvili, those sort of players. I want to see these players kind of get a bit of a run out, see if they can actually kind of perform, see where they're at compared to the first team. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what they can contribute. But yeah, and now we're just gonna have a quick short break, and after the break, we're gonna do a very short quiz about Liverpool, see how people find it.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Hello and welcome back. As I said, we're going to do a quiz. I've got 10 questions here that are kind of varied in difficulty. They're going to progressively get harder. I'll read them out twice, and then at the very end, once I've read all the questions out, I will give you the answers to the questions. So hope you enjoy. Question 1. In which year was Liverpool Football Club founded? In which year was Liverpool Football Club founded? Question 2. How many times have Liverpool won the top flight league title in England? How many times has Liverpool won the top flight league title in England? As of the 8th of September 2025, for clarification. Okay, question 3. Who is Liverpool's all-time top goal scorer? You can have a bonus point if you can get how many goals he has. Who is Liverpool's all-time top goal scorer? Question 4. Which Liverpool players scored in the 2019 Champions League final against Tottenham? Question 4. Which 2 Liverpool players scored in the Champions League final against Tottenham in 2019? Question 5. Which Liverpool goalkeeper infamously made 2 errors in the 2018 Champions League final against Real Madrid? Question 5, sorry. Which Liverpool goalkeeper infamously made 2 errors in 2018 in the Champions League final against Real Madrid? Question 6. Which Liverpool legend was known as God by the fans? Question 6. Which Liverpool legend was known as God by the fans? Question 7. Which Liverpool defender scored in the 2016 Europa League comeback against Borussia Dortmund at Anfield? Which Liverpool defenders scored in the 2016 Europa League comeback against Borussia Dortmund at Anfield? Question 8. Who was Liverpool's record signing before Virgil van Dijk arrived in 2018? Who was Liverpool's record signing before Virgil van Dijk's arrival in 2018? Bonus points if you get the price tag. Question 9. Which Liverpool striker scored 4 goals in a single Premier League match against Norwich in April 2013? Taking you all the way back, 12 years ago. Which Liverpool striker scored 4 goals in a single Premier League match against Norwich in April 2013? And question 10. What 2 strikers were brought in the wake of the Fernando Torres going to Chelsea in February, on the 2nd of February 2011? Which 2 strikers were brought in to replace Fernando Torres going to Chelsea on the 2nd of February 2011? Give you a hint. They were announced alongside Kenny Dalglish, who was the manager at the time. Okay, now it's time for the answers. Question 1. In which year was Liverpool Football Club founded? The correct answer is 1892. Question 2. How many times have Liverpool won the top flight league title in England as of the 8th of September 2025? That is 20 times. The Big 20 was won this summer. Question 3. Who is Liverpool's all-time top goal scorer? The all-time top goal scorer is Ian Rush, with a total of 346 goals. Question 4. In which 2 Liverpool players scored in the 2019 Champions League final against Tottenham Hotspur? Of course, they were Mohamed Salah and Divock Origi. Salah scoring that penalty in the first 2 minutes, and Divock Origi later scoring with a lovely assist by Joel Matip. Okay, question 5. Which Liverpool goalkeeper infamously made 2 errors in the 2018 Champions League final against Real Madrid? That is, of course, Luis Karius, who actually people forget had a fairly underrated campaign. He had a fairly decent campaign that season. But yeah, obviously he had that stinker in the final and claimed concussion in the end. Question 6. Which Liverpool legend was known as God by the fans? That, of course, is Robbie Fowler. Question 7. Which Liverpool defenders scored in the 2016 Europa League comeback against Borussia Dortmund at Anfield? Of course, the first goal was scored by Mamadou Sakho, absolute legend, and the second and winner of the out of the 2 was Dejan Lovren with that lovely header at the back post. Question 8, I want to say. Who was Liverpool's record signing before Virgil van Dijk's arrival in 2018? That was Naby Keita with a £52 million fee from RB Leipzig. Question 9. Which striker scored 4 goals in a single Premier League match against Norwich in April 2013? Of course, this player loved to score against Norwich. It was Luis Suarez. Which kind of links back to the next question, which was what 2 strikers were brought in the wake of the Fernando Torres transfer to Chelsea on the 2nd of February 2011. Those 2 players were Andy Carroll and Luis Suarez. Now, that was 10 questions. I hope you did well. If you enjoyed this, I'd be happy to do it again. It's been really nice doing an individual podcast. I promise Adash or someone will be with me to stop me waffling next week. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.